Welcome back to the Super G Tight Sew Along. I'm Sarah and I work with Green Style Creations and blog at Sewing with Sarah. And today we are going to be constructing our waistbands and hemming our pants. So you should have something that pretty much looks like a pair of leggings, but it's missing a waistband and a hem. If you've tried them on already, don't panic if they feel like they're sliding down. That waistband is going to make a world of difference. And I'm going to show you today how to serge in some clear elastic to the top. You can also use a sewing machine to zigzag that in, and that's going to make a huge difference in how they fit and whether they stay up or not as you go about your active day. Something that I am going to show you, I'm not going to do a video on it, but I have a link for you, is how to do the hacked back zipper pocket. I love doing this on my no side seam versions. I like the clean look of no side seams, but I also sometimes need a pocket back there for my phone or credit card or just, key or something like that. So I have a link to that on my blog, but otherwise I'm just going to demonstrate how to do the standard waistband, serge in the clear elastic, and also to finish up our hems today. So if you're ready, let's get started. Okay, so one of our last steps is going to be sewing the waistband. You should have 4 waistband pieces, an outer front and an outer back waistband, and then an inner back and an inner front waistband. The front waistbands are going to be the smaller ones, the back waistbands are going to be the bigger ones, and then remember that the inner waistbands are a little bit shorter, if you compare, than the outer waistbands, so that top seam is really going to roll toward the inside and look nice on your finished pair of leggings. So to get started in sewing the waistbands, you're going to put the front waistband, outer waistband, right sides together with the front or with the back outer waistband, and you're going to sew it together along the side seam. So you're going to sew this seam and then bring it over the whole thing and then sew it to this side, so it'll end up kind of in a tube like this. This is another place where after sewing those seams, I like to go ahead and top stitch them. Now you're going to want to do the same thing with your inner waistbands. So you're going to want to, at the same time, sew your inner back and front waistbands together at the side seams, bring it into a tube, and sew that other side seam as well. So I'm going to go do that, and then I'll come back and show you your next step. So I've got my outer waistband sewn here and top stitch, and I've got my inner waistband sewn, and I don't top stitch that because it's not really necessary. It's not going to show. So now you're going to put them right sides together. It's important before you do that to note where the top of the waistband is on each one. You don't want to be, doing the bottom of the waistbands together. It's important that the top be together. So I'm going to turn one of them inside out like that, and then I'm going to slip that over the top of the other, and then I'm just going to line up those seams, and I like to push them in opposite directions to kind of cut down on the bulk. So since I've pushed this one that way, I'm going to push this other one the opposite direction so that when I go to serge that seam together, it's not too bulky, and so that it doesn't feel too bulky when you wear it. So that one's gone that way, so that one's going to go that way. So I'm just going to pin them together. These should be the same width the top, so you shouldn't need to, do any stretching or anything. So now you're going to go ahead and sew those together around that top seam. And this is where you'll notice again that the inner waistband is shorter than the outer waistband. After you sew them together, you're going to be inserting that clear elastic at just kind of a 1-to-1 ratio around, and I'm going to do a video and show you how I do that. I use my serger. You could also use your sewing machine with a zigzag stitch. This is really going to help them stay up. So I'm going to go first sew these together, and then I'll come back and bring you over to the serger and show you how I actually insert that elastic. So now I've got my waistband serged together, my inner and outer waistband serged together around along the top in a circle. And now I'm going to take my clear elastic and I'm going to use my serger to just serge it in along the top. You should like kind of pre-stretch your clear elastic first. And as you're inserting this, you're going to do it at a 1-to-1 ratio. So you're not going to be stretching the elastic in any way as you put it in. It's not like a encased kind of waistband type of elastic where you need to have it stretched. It's just going to go in and just kind of help those pants sit there and stay at your waistline, because this pattern already has negative ease. So I'm going to lower the differential feet on my serger. I'm going to stick my clear elastic. This is how I like to start it. I'll stick my clear elastic in there, and I make sure that I have longer than I need. And I start serging onto the clear elastic so that it's coming out the back with just the serging on it. And then I lift up my presser foot and I tuck my leggings, preferably in my waistband, in an inconspicuous type of spot. So this is kind of in the back. And then I just start serging I'm not cutting anything off because I've already cut off the seam allowance on my waistband. So I'm just serging the clear elastic directly in without cutting anything off at all. And you can see I'm just guiding it in. I am not pulling on it. I'm not pulling on this. Just going all the way around. And when I get back to where I started, I'll clip off that part where I started and it's not quite on, and I'll just overlap it for about, I don't know, half an inch or so. And then pull it through. Now, since I used 3/8 inch elastic here, it's kind of sticking out the bottom. That's okay. That's not a problem. But that's how I insert my clear elastic. If you don't have a serger and you're using your sewing machine, then you would just do, you know, a zigzag stitch along that clear elastic to hold it in there. So now you can flip your waistband right sides out. And that clear elastic is hidden inside that seam now. So got my waistband right side out, the clear elastic is sandwiched inside, and we're ready to attach our waistbands to the pants. All right, so now I've got my waistband with the clear elastic sewn in there. And that is optional, but highly recommended. I always kind of regret it when I don't take the time to do it. And then you've got your pants, and both of them right now are right sides out. If you're doing the dual side pocket version, you're gonna have, you know, a line here as well. Remember, I'm doing one leg on this pair that is not, that has no side pocket, and then one pair that does, or one side that does, one leg that does have the side pocket. So you can see though where the seams on the waistband would line up with the seams of the pocket, and so you're going to want to make sure either by basting or by using pins and kind of sewing carefully that that remains lined up, because if it was kind of offset like that, it would be pretty obvious on your pants. So now we're just going to turn the waistband so that the right side of the waistband is touching the right side of the pants. And those seams are kind of where I like to clip first. And after some practice doing this, I don't usually baste it anymore, but it's certainly a good idea just for a little extra insurance if you want to. And then you should not, again, be stretching the waistband to fit. So it should fit perfectly without any stretching. You can mark, if you want to, the center back of the waistband and mark that up to the center back of the pants. But again, it should be pretty easy to see where it all matches up since we're not stretching it at all. Make sure that you're getting both layers of the waistband when you sew and when you pin them together. You don't want to miss one of those layers. So it's just important that those be lined up. And if you're worried about that, you know, again, you can always baste them together first before sewing them. So just gonna go ahead and pin them all the way around. And then once I've done that, I will go ahead and serge them on, serge the waistband onto the pants. And then I will come back and show you what that looks like. That's another place where I like to top stitch sometimes. Sometimes I'll serge them onto the pants and then I'll top stitch kind of along this top here. It can get a little tricky because there's quite a few layers. Sometimes my cover stitch machine does not love that, but that's it. So I'm gonna go do that and then I'll come back and show you how that looks. So I've gone ahead and sewn on the waistband. You can see the front and the back. This is where you can just, you know, check, pull apart those seams a little bit and make sure that you got both the layers of the waistband in there. And you can see that now that you've attached it, that inner waistband seam rolls kind of to the inside very nicely so that it's really not visible at all from the outside. So the key to that was just when you serge the waistband onto the pants, making sure that the inner and outer waistband and the top of the leggings were all even and pinning it evenly around. So you've got your waistband on. Now that's all that's left to do is to hem your leggings. At this point, I would recommend, you know, trying them on, see how they fit you, and then making the hem from there. Everybody's gonna have a different, you know, preference on that. I, you know, generally kind of fold mine up about 1 inch, and then I'll go ahead and do another reverse cover stitch to finish these off. One note, if you are doing the capri length, is to make sure that your stitch length is, you know, set longer, you know, 3.5 or so, or that you're using a nice stretch stitch here. You know, the reverse cover stitch, if I loosen my looper tension, gives me a good effect here. But these are, you know, if you're using the capris, they could be kind of hitting you at the calf. And some people, me included, have bigger calves than others. So, you know, if you think that you might really need a good stretchy finish there, just make sure that you're using a stitch that's going to accommodate that. So I'm gonna go ahead and hem them, and then once you do that, you are all finished. You finished your whole Super G leggings. Congratulations. Please post them in the group. I can't wait to see them and be entered for some prizes. Okay, that's it. You finished the Super G tights sew along. Thank you so much for sewing along with me. I hope you had a great time. If you have any questions, please continue to ask. As I mentioned before, these videos will remain on my blog, sewingwithsarah.com, under the sew along tab at the top for, you know, probably all time. So don't worry if you need to catch up. You can always find them there. I made 2 pairs for the sew along. One pair has the side pocket in the navy athletic knit, and then I made this no side seam version with the hacked back zipper pocket, which I find super helpful if I'm not going to be having a side pocket. And we worked through both of the views together, so I can't wait to see your finished tights. Please post them in the group, so both in green style and in serge fabric. And I would love it if you would visit my Facebook page, Sewing with Sarah, and post them on there as well, so that we can all kind of give each other a pat on the back, have a beer, whatever you want, just to celebrate our new Super G tights, and I kind of dare you to only make one. I am now up to 8 pairs. As the process of filming this sew along, I counted them up, and I'm still pumped to make more. Another thing that you could do that I didn't do during the sew along, but that I would welcome you to try, is if you like to work out in short shorts. I don't typically, but if you like to work out in tight shorts, you can always just chop these off at your preferred inseam length. I would recommend doing it first, maybe measuring down on a pair or measuring down on yourself to figure out what inseam you want, and then making those adjustments on the pattern. It's a little bit more challenging once you've sewn them up to figure out how to make an even cut. So if that's something that you want to do, I highly recommend giving that a try, seeing what you think of it. We had one tester, at least that I know of, that did do that and did an awesome job and made some really cute workout shorties. So congratulations. Enjoy your new Super G tights. Maybe make a green tee. This is one I made last year out of bamboo that I did some shibori dyeing on, so maybe make a green tee to match and share them with the world. All right, happy sewing.